You walk into a room full of people you have never met. Within a tenth of a second, your brain has already decided who to trust. Not after a conversation, not after a handshake. A tenth of a second. That is faster than you can blink, faster than you can think the word stranger, and yet somehow your mind has already built an entire verdict. It feels like intuition. It feels personal, like a gut instinct earned through your own unique experience. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain is not reading that face. It is reading a pattern written into it long before you were born. Think about the last time you met someone new. Maybe a job interview, maybe a first date, maybe just someone standing next to you at a bus stop. You probably felt something instantly. Warm or wary, safe or off. You didn't choose that feeling. It arrived on its own, uninvited, fully formed. Where did it come from? In the early 2000s, a psychologist named Alexander Todorov ran an experiment that changed how scientists think about trust. He showed people photographs of unfamiliar faces for less than a second. Just long enough to register, not long enough to think. Then he asked a simple question. Do you trust this person? The answers were remarkably consistent. Different participants, different backgrounds, different days. Almost everyone agreed on which faces looked trustworthy and which didn't. There was no conversation, no behavior to judge, just bone structure, eyebrow angle, the width of a jaw. Somehow, that was enough. Here's the strange part. Todorov's research found that these snap judgments barely correlated with whether the person was actually trustworthy. Wide eyes and raised brows read as innocent. A downturned mouth read as hostile. None of it tracked reality. It tracked something older. Something shaped less by who a person truly is and more by who your ancestors needed to avoid. Why would evolution build a lie detector that doesn't detect lies? To understand that, you have to go back. Not centuries, hundreds of thousands of years. Back to small bands of early humans, moving across unfamiliar land, encountering unfamiliar people. In that world, meeting a stranger wasn't a social event. It was a gamble with your life. A wrong guess about intention could mean losing food, losing shelter, losing your life entirely. There was no time for careful analysis, no time to gather evidence. Your ancestors needed one thing above all else: a fast answer. Even a wrong one was often safer than no answer at all. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar has spent decades studying how human social life shaped the size and structure of the brain itself. His research suggests that the human brain grew as large as it did largely to manage relationships, to track who could be trusted, who owed favors, who posed a threat. Dunbar's work points to something important. Trust wasn't a soft, emotional afterthought in human evolution. It was survival infrastructure, a tool as essential as fire or a spear. So your brain built a shortcut, a fast, rough, first-glance filter, wired to fire before conscious thought even begins. It is not accurate. It was never meant to be accurate. It was meant to be quick. And that shortcut didn't disappear when humans stopped roaming the savannah. It simply moved indoors. It followed you into job interviews, into dating apps, into courtrooms. Yes, courtrooms. Researchers studying facial trustworthiness have found something unsettling. In some studies, defendants whose faces were rated as less trustworthy received harsher sentences, even when the underlying facts of the case were similar. A jury believes it is weighing evidence. Often, it is also quietly weighing bone structure. Does that mean you're powerless against this? Not entirely. A researcher named Nalini Ambady studied something she called thin slicing, the brain's ability to form accurate impressions from extremely short glimpses of behavior. In one now famous study, people watched silent video clips of teachers just a few seconds long with no sound and no context. Then they rated how effective those teachers seemed. Those snap ratings closely matched evaluations from students who had sat in the classroom for an entire semester. Somehow, a few seconds of body language carried real information. Not everything your brain reads in an instant is noise. Some of it is a genuine signal, compressed. The problem is, your brain doesn't sort the two. It doesn't separate the useful thin slice from the useless bias. A raised eyebrow and a genuine warning sign get filed into the same instant reaction. Both feel like certainty. Only one of them is real. So what do you do with a system this old, this fast, and this flawed? You slow it down on purpose. Not by ignoring your instinct, by checking it. Psychologists who study impression formation often describe a second, slower system in the mind, one capable of overriding the first. It takes effort to switch on. It takes a conscious pause. But it exists. The same brain that judges a stranger in a tenth of a second can, given a few more seconds, correct itself. Here's the twist most people never expect. The stranger you're afraid of, the one your ancient instincts flag as untrustworthy, is often statistically no more dangerous than the one your instincts approve of. Modern life rarely resembles the savannah. Most interactions today carry a fraction of the risk your ancestors faced. The lion is gone. The alarm system stayed. You still carry it everywhere. Every time you scroll past a profile picture and feel a flicker of judgment. Every time you meet someone new and feel an instant, wordless verdict settle in your chest. That is not you being perceptive. That is 100,000 years of ancestors who needed to decide fast, whispering through your nervous system. Notice it next time it happens. Notice the speed of it. Notice how confident it feels and how little evidence it's actually built on. You don't have to obey it. You don't even have to fight it. You just have to recognize it for what it is. An old survival tool, doing its best in a world that no longer needs it the way it once did. You walk into a room full of people you have never met. Within a tenth of a second, your brain has already decided who to trust. This time, you know exactly where that feeling came from, and that changes everything.